It's been a while since I've made one of these videos with my usual rant about Blacks studying classics. And I had a thought. There's this kind of, I feel, respectful discussion going on in social media with many of those in the classics community who are feeling, I want to say this, feeling the weight of something has to be done. Something has to change about our field if we're going to save it. And I agree with you on that. And I feel like everyone's kind of talking through it. They're meeting together, scrambling to make necessary or wise choices about those changes. And so one of the things that has come up in the discussion is changing the name from classics to something else, like ancient studies, ancient civilizations, or I think someone said even world studies, things like that, or ancient world studies. And I've been giving a little pushback with that change. And I want to make sure I'm clear. I don't have an issue with changing names. I don't feel anything either way because I don't feel like that is the pressing change that needs to happen. I feel like there's a lot of conversation, a lot of posts, and there's arguing about changing this name as if changing the name will magically change what's going on in classics. And the reason why I am not jumping on that bandwagon to advocate for changing the name, because I feel like more work needs to be put into going a little deeper. Let me prove my point. Historically in America, we have always changed names, torn down buildings, torn down statues, passed legislation. A name change, changing a label to me is the equivalent of some type of paperwork, an official change made to something. We've seen the Civil Rights Act of 1964 pass with Martin Luther King sitting there with Lyndon B. Johnson. I've seen elementary schools' names change. I have seen buildings that were dedicated to some leader, name change. And all of these surface changes, this surface paperwork. I mean, even now in 2021, we're still trying to address voting rights, which is just very odd to me. So there's been a lot of paperwork and name changing and changing the surface things. And there's like all of this talk and arguing about doing things like changing names, changing titles, changing labels, changing legislation, or what have you. And yet, George Floyd again reveals the depth of the depravity of our nation with regards to racism. And this is not a post or a video about being against my country, because I actually adore my country, which is why I get so passionate. I'm asking us to go deeper, like to take all of our energy and brain power and go deeper first. America has avoided going deeper for a long time, since its inception. We got rid of slavery, but somehow we still came up lynching people. So I feel like these perfunctory, these surface actions aren't going deep enough down at the root to kill, to root out racism once and for all. And I feel like I can't change the world, but classics and my church are my two areas of focus, or the Christian community. Classics in the more broader world outside of my faith, outside of my religion, is what this discussion is about. And to me, going deeper, I always talk about getting to the heart of the matter. And so we had a discussion and someone said, well, if we change the name, it reveals a change of the heart. When I woke up this morning, something came to me that I want to share. And I'm praying that no one sees it as me being critical of the classics community, of being mean or unkind. It's an observation I have that makes me feel that even with all this talk of these changes, the heart of the matter is not being addressed. And I'm praying that you receive what I want to say. I know that I'm not a career classicist. My first career is K-12 education. I started out just regular old teacher in public schools. had a major detour when I came to St. John's, and I became just an advocate for studying the works of the canon, and then got even more focused in just the role of classics in education and the importance of it, especially with Black students. And so I refuse to call myself a classicist. People have called me that, but just so you all know, so I want you to understand how humbly I'm coming. I'm not coming as an expert classicist. I kind of come in as an outside observer who somehow has ended up being this fly on the wall, and I pray that you'll still receive my words. I'm a classically inspired educator, and until I learn Latin and can read somebody's text in Latin, I refuse to call myself a classicist. And I don't know what that journey is going to look like. I'm figuring that out, but I'm working on it slowly. I like to call myself the hype man for the classics community, and I pray that you'll receive that. I am your cheerleader, and I believe in the work that you're doing, and I believe in this field of study with every fiber of my being. That being said, me being an outsider and me not even really feeling like my career is at stake, because my real career is outside of the classics community, and that's pretty much set through my school and the work I'm doing in that community. I'm praying that my words can be received with the heart of love it's coming from, and maybe even help all types of classical educators, whether you're in classics or K-12 classical education. The observation that I have is this. In all of this talk about what needs to be done to make classics more welcoming, addressing the feelings of minorities, marginalized people, and so on, I've not heard one person say, let's talk to the faculty in the classics department at Howard University. I'm not included in that. I no longer work there. When I was there, I was just an adjunct, so I didn't have any type of seniority, and I'm not a classicist. But the Howard Classics Department has 4 main tenured scholarly classicists. They're all white, and for those of you who want to be critical about that, it's an unfortunate thing, but it reveals how difficult it is to find Black classicists. But these individuals have been there for many, many years. The head of the department has been the head since I know he came into the classics department in the 90s, and I want to say that's when he started leading. Somewhere in the late 90s or early 2000s, he started leading the classics department. It's about 20 years he's been leading that department. And he is a true classicist. Actually, he's the reason why I won't call myself a classicist, because he makes a statement that I think is so important. He said, it's okay to read classic texts in English translation, but nothing compares with reading it in Latin in its original language. And that really got to me. And he wasn't saying that to be critical of me. It was a conversation we were having. And ever since I heard him say that, I've said, I'm not going to say that I'm a classicist until I can do that. And he believes in the purity of classics and bringing it to the Black community, not just because he's focused on the Black community. He believes classics is for everyone, and that there are no special gimmicks and tricks you have to do. It's just treating people with kindness, understanding their story, understanding especially Black people's space and what they experience here in this world. He gets it. And I feel like all of those professors, tenured and adjunct, we all understood that. And but the faculty was there way before I was, and they're still there. And I noticed in these conversations about what should we do, no one is saying we need to be talking to Howard. Howard has had a classics department since 1867. They have been successfully bringing the purity of classics in its truest sense, not trying to rap Socrates, no, straight scholarly work. And I love hip hop, and I feel like hip hop is scholarly. But it's another field. But so you can understand what I mean for emphasis. They've been doing it for over 100 years, but yet no one is even saying, let's talk to Howard. I have actually had someone from another university, another classics department, message me and ask, does the classics department at Howard teach Latin or Greek? I said, wow. Wow. What does that tell you? That even those of us who think we are awake, even those who think they are aware of how to fix the race problem, as Du Bois calls it, in the world of classics, very few, I haven't seen any, so I'm using the word very few because I don't like to use definite words like all or no one. So I haven't seen any, but my thinking is at least very few classics people are reaching out to Howard to ask them, what should we do? Matter of fact, and I hope you won't be offended, I'm not doing this for any, because I'm not affiliated with a university. I'm totally independent. They should be the ones everyone's talking to. If you're having conversation about how to fix classics and make it more welcoming and to make it so it's more sensitive to people of color and people not of the West, shouldn't we be talking to the university who's been doing it for hundreds of years and successfully to prove the point? When it came that classics might be canceled at Howard, it wasn't faculty leading the way to save it. It wasn't even me. I mean, you think it was me, but it wasn't. It was the students, alumni and current, who took that thing and tried to save it through petitions, letter writing. I mean, they were in a complete outrage. I have received emails from alumni thanking the faculty for the work they've done, wanting to save the department. These are Black people from Howard University who adored this department, who had a respect for these white tenured professors who've been there for all these years, bringing them classics. They are doctors, they are scientists, they are lawyers, they are engineers, all influenced by this one little department in Howard University that's been there since 1867. So when people talk to me about, we need to do this and we need to do that, and I keep saying it's the heart, I was trying to kind of avoid what I was observing. Because you all know that Howard has a classics department, and everyone knows it's the only HBCU with a classics department, and everyone knows it's the only HBCU that has been successfully being in classics without making Black students want to get rid of it, wanting to burn it down. They want it. To me, I would think you would invite the head of the department, that you would invite all of those professors that are there and that have been there into a conversation and to be a part of your brainstorming sessions to strategize, how do we save classics? And maybe if the classics community had been able to see the value of Howard's classics department before now and rallied around it, maybe we wouldn't be seeing it closed down. Those are my thoughts, and I'm hoping you receive them with love.